This is first program Thana Academy of Pediatrics is hosting, and now we would be having series of the lectures depending on the topic. Today, first topic we would be covering OPD cases. Now, for today's speaker, first is Dr. Satish Tiwari, sir. He is Professor of Pediatrics in Amravati Medical College, and he is a founder president of Indian Medical Legal and Ethic Association. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Then other speaker is our own Dr. Hemant Gangulia, sir. He is now practicing pediatrician in Raigad since last 30 years. He was past president of Raigad IAP. Now, currently, he is president of MA IAP. Sir is a law graduate of D.Y. Patil College of Law, Nehru. Welcome, sir. Now, as you know, welcome, sir. This would be a case-to-case discussion, but before that, we should have some knowledge on what is medicine and law. So first, I request Gangulia sir to enlighten about what is medicine and law, and then I will invite Tiwari sir to have a comment, and then the discussion will start. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ram Gopal. We appreciate as an initiative which is taken by you. All the time we thought the lectures and series goes on, but let us come with the practical issues which remains unsolved. And I am very fortunate to have the Dr. Satish Tiwari sir, who is the greatest faculty in the medical legal field, as well as is the founder president of the Indian Medical Legal Ethic Association. Before I start, I will just share my screen, and then I will speak something about basic, and then I will request our Dr. Tiwari sir to give his expert comments and some practical tips, and then we will just move ahead with the question answers, and whatever the case-based scenario will be there, that will be doing that. I will be very fast because we don't want to waste time lot on this, but one should be aware of the basic. I always believe and feels that if basics are rights and one is aware of it, then the things and approach become easier. I didn't know the law, hence I should be excused. That is what this Latin maxim is stated over. That means. So we should be aware something about the law. Now there are too many laws. As medicine is vast, laws is also vast. So everybody can know everything. But just 2 points I want to highlight. There are two types of law which is passed in parliaments or state assembly, which are known as statutory laws. Example is Consumer Protection Act, IMS Act, State Medical Council Act. The laws, whenever any issues happens in the and it goes to the Supreme Court or High Court, and whatever the judgment is given, that judgment becomes the judgment laws and precedence law. So the point is, law syllabus doesn't cover all issues, as well as the laws made doesn't provide solution to all issues. Hence, many issues requires the logical, justified, and appropriate ethical-based reasoning as per standard protocols and laws of the land, unless and until we have judgmental law. And therefore, we have many gray areas. और इसलिए बहुत बार अपने को लगता है कि इसका क्या solution है, तो उसको so there are many gray areas, but it has to be solved. Whatever the laws of the land is there, and logical is explanation, justified, appropriate is this thing. The change which has been brought over the years, faith has been replaced by contract, but one has to change with time. Mishaps we have to accept, part and parcel of practice. वो होने वाला है अपनी. We have to accept and face it. But then we should learn and mentally get prepared how to go about it. That is the important message. And this, I will not narrate all the case laws. Everybody knows that. IMA versus VP Shanta broad medical profession in ambit of consumer. Parman Katrao versus Union Estate. No right to choose the patient in emergency state. This case law, Prabha Manchanda case, is related with all the consents. Then Hiranandani hospital case is related with dead body cannot be held against pending bill. And lack of documentation result in 1.8 crore compensation in case of this. And then this is related to cross specialty practice. This is just to give a bird eye view. These are the basic case laws where all the case revolves. And I always feel in our practice, if we apply these 6 words while approaching any issues, and these 6 words at least we learn to follow, probably we will little bit whatever be safe in this today's practice of the medicine. So the 6 words are anticipation. We should learn to anticipate. हम OPD में है, indoor wise, emergency wise, what unexpected complication scenarios, we should have little bit idea about it. Documentation, we should be perfect. Learn to be perfect. No one will be perfect, near perfection. Justified, informed, expressed. That is the key word to be followed by documentation. You must have a lot of lectures on that, so I will not highlight anything. Communication should be informed, documented communication. That is the important words. Limitation, I always believe, and we should always believe, that we should practice according to our qualification, infrastructure, ability, and capacity wise. And always believe in the ethics. We are the 4 principles of ethics which state respect, do good, do no harm, and equality. And lastly, introspection, which I feel all very important. Always we should try to introspect ourselves by auditing oneself and thought of near and dear ones in the shoes of the patient. So if we apply these 6 words, so probably practice will be a little bit easier and we can find the solutions to them. These are the important papers. We should try to maintain them. I will not highlight OPD paper, indoor paper, TPR input output charts. The most important, indoor paper and TPR input output papers should corroborate between them. Doctor ने एक orders लिखा है, that should corroborate with the this whatever the nursing treatment papers are there. So these 3 papers are very important, where requires the this corroboration. And discharge paper, of course, transfer and various certificates. We will come in the discussion as well. So only the point which I want to mention, whenever we make these papers, justification is a keyword. We should be able to justify what we write. That is the important thing. I will not go into this details of this consent. Everybody is aware. Everybody have attended lecture. The point I want to make is this: ideal consent is the language which patient understand in writing, reasonably detailed, in simple language, duly timed by the parties, and should be well timed. In the admission time में consent ले लिया, that will work for all. No, admission that doesn't work. Real time consent is required in certain situation. Some few case law, which is very important. Everybody should know. Everybody should remember. Martin D'Souza case, not to arrest doctor, not to arrest doctor. Always any incidents happens, the issue goes to the committee of doctors. Whether the prima facie of negligence is there or not, it is decided by the committee of doctors. So this case law is very important. The another Jacob Matthew case, everybody should remember. Onus of proving negligence is on complainant. Then a reasonable degree of skill and knowledge is required to practice. But as the increase specialty increases, probably the degree of skill and knowledge increases. And we should stick to standard care and standard protocols. If we follow that, that is what Jacob Matthews case states. Dr. Suresh Gupta case states careless act is criminal only if there is a gross inaction, gross incompetence, and death due to error of judgment or accident should not be taken as criminal liability. Then this is always expert written medical opinion is a must. We will not discuss a lot in that. The important 2 or 3 important what I want to say is IPC 304A. Everybody should know. It is a causing death by negligence. Whoever causes the death of any person by doing any rash or negligent act, and imprisonment up to 2 years or fine or both. The important point is it is bailable. Bailable means if this section is applied, you get the bail outright at the police station. The arrest is only on papers and is a cognizable offense. So you get the bail immediately. But the issue is most of the times 304 is applied and 304 is non-bailable. And when it becomes non-bailable, the bail is not given at the police station, but it is the duty of the police to in between the judicial first class magistrate, and just it is totally at the discretion of the judicial first class magistrate to give the bail or not. So we should know this. And for negligence, it is 304 is applied. And negligence, I will not describe the definition, but this is the important point: act of omission and act of commission. And it is for the prudent, reasonable doctor with an average skill. Never ever it is mentioned that it should be the perfection. Average skill and standard protocol. That is the keyword. Doesn't do the act which was necessary while treating the patient is an act of omission. Does the act which shouldn't have been done while treating the patient is an act of commission. So all negligence revolves around this act of omission and act of commission. So we should be aware of this thing. And of course, this is the famous slide of our dear Dr. Tiwari Sarji. Duty towards patient, deficiency in duty, directly resulting in damages, physical, mental, financial to patients or relatives. So these are the 4 Ds are very important. We will take question answers, we will come in that, we will discuss this duty towards patient, whether when one accept the duty, whether it was deficiency and whether it resulted in the damages, we should be not remote one, but immediate damages should be there. 2 or 3 more important points. What are the forums available to the complainant? We should be aware. Police station FIR, criminal courts, medical councils, National Human Rights Commission, civil courts. The point what I want to make is that in case of FIR, we do not have time. Hence, to learn appropriate document is very important. We should make papers properly. Whereas other forums, one has time, at least 1 month, to reply and respond after the receipt of notice or summons with the help of good criminal lawyer and good medical legal expert. So FIR is a problematic. We should learn to document properly. Any mishap which occurs or we have anticipated litigation, immediately discuss the issue, research the literature, keep the literature for and against the whatever the issue is there, preserve the papers and appropriate documents in any anticipated litigation or any mishap. This thing one should always follow. Why? Because period of limitations act is 2 years. So after their patient have at least 2 years to file the complaint. So this, when by the time the 2 years we forget all the issues whatever. So always make the habit. If any you feel it's a mishap or anticipated litigation, this discuss the issue, research the literature, xerox karke rakh lijiye, what are for, what are against, which will be helping in the whenever the case come up. And these are the scenarios we should learn to handle the things. At least we should know the things, because these are the related to sudden death and trigger factors for mob violence and litigations. At clinic, following injection anaphylaxis, emergency patient gasping dies, sudden death while treating the patient in the hospital setup, broad death in the clinic hospital, table deaths, and we should be careful of the VIP syndrome. As always, also the huge billing is one of the issue. And almost towards the end of my 1 or 2 minute display of Doctor Protection Act, very important. Always Doctor Protection Act was implemented in Maharashtra 2010, but problem is that implementation is there, but conviction is very low. And each one should have copies of it, accessible. We all have smartphones. Copy of this act should be always there, because problem what happens, even police stations sometimes are not aware of it. The point what I want to make is issue of doctor is down on their priority list. Hence, one has to keep them aware of the existing Doctor Protection Act. This we have displayed in our taluka. All clinics, hospital displays this, and we display in the hospital also. I think so. Each branch should have display this in their clinics or in their hospital. I will not go into detail, but what important things are: Section 3 is act causing damage, loss, violence to medical establishments prohibited. Punishment imprisonment to 3 years and fine up to 50,000. Section 5 is offense cognizable, non-bailable. This is very important. Here, bail is not offered, but again, bail is at the discretion of the judge. So sometimes they get bail in 1 or 2 days, and we doctors feel, "Arey, usko kaise kya bail mil gaya? Violence kiya to bhi kiya." But it's totally at the discretion of judicial magistrate. Compensation of twice is the amount of damage, whatever is there. So this 4th section is important. And the last, I don't know whether every people have seen this FIR. This the FIR looks like. Important point what I want to make: whenever FIR is done, these days is online, not online from house, but online from police station. It is always registered under the acts and under the sections. So the point what I want to make is, always, if I pray to God, nothing should happen. But if that happens, one should be aware that this FIR should be lodged under the Maharashtra Doctor Protection Act. That is very important. It is mentioned here. And then this is the one of the copy of the FIR which we have come across in our place at our Neral. And then another, the important, whenever the charge sheet is filed, again in charge sheet, they have to mention the act and the sections. And again, we've taken care of that, because when this incidents occurred, I remember in Maharashtra state, it was not in the this. So we have to find out and get the things done. With this, I stop here and I stop sharing. I will ask our Dr. Tiwari sir, whatever I stated, to give expert comments on there. And if I miss something, he can just highlight in next 5 to 7 minutes, and then we will go to the question answer session from Dr. Ram Gopal. Yes, Dr. Tiwari sir.
Thank you, Dr. Hemant, and the organizing committee of today's webinar, that is Thane IIP. And I think Dr. Hemant has covered almost everything. What are the basic spirit and the aims and objectives of various acts? We'll discuss as we proceed with the today's program. And I think there is not much to discuss general. So let us have a question based, as has been planned by Dr. Ram Gopal. So I think we should start with the questions. And whatever questions are there, everybody is open. They can ask any question, and we'll try to solve the issues involved in that question.
First of all, sir, thank you very much for enlightening. I think sir has covered so nicely in a precise manner and up to the specific points which everyone should know. Now we will start our discussion. I think Dr. Archana, you are there? Dr. Archana. Okay, I'll start on her behalf. She had some incidents last week only. There was one vaccine.
Ram,
which I think, yes, Archana, you can start. Archana. Can you hear, Archana?
hello, Ram Gopal, I'm there. Can I ask the question?
Yeah, that is what I told. I am inviting you to ask the question.
No. I just came back from clinic.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Archana, and there was one incident that we had in one of the hospitals that I am attached to. A vaccine, oral vaccine was given to a baby, 1.5-month-old, the first of the primary doses, and this was the rotavirus oral vaccine. Now, usually we are in a habit of checking the expiry, etc. But unfortunately, because of the face mask and the specs and face shield and the fogging and other things, it was missed to check the expiry. And this was an expired vaccine which was administered to the baby. The baby did not have any side effects, and baby was completely fine. However, on going home, the parents, since we always give the counterfoil and the sticker is put on the baby's vaccination chart, they realize that it's an expired vaccine. And obviously they were very upset. We produced some data to show that expired vaccines, if they are given, they basically need to be repeated as a dosage. So I just wanted to ask the panelists and the experts, what are the implications for, because this was a stocking error which happened on part of the hospital, and then this expired vaccine was given to the patient. What are the possibilities that can happen if this person goes to the consumer court? What are the implications in this particular case, and what should be done as a preemptive measure?
Sir, should I answer or you answer? Sir?
Yes, Dr. Hemant, please go ahead.
Exactly same incidents occurred in our one of the place, and I got the call. And this is a regular happening to occur. The lesson learned is we should always check the expiry date, always. And suppose the question is whether if that patient would have gone to the police station, and in the case which I got the call, they went to police station, they filed the complaint, and then they called me what to do. So the question is, see, whenever this vaccine is given, expired vaccine is given, immediately first you have to counsel. Whatever you have to, whatever the better way, whatever the rapport you have with the patient, you should counsel. कि बाबा ऐसा ऐसा हुआ, ऐसे से ये हो गया है, गलती से दिया गया. But then how to go about it? The first thing, you should always ask the manufacturer of that vaccine to provide the details of the whether if the expiry vaccine is given by accidental, what can happen. So when you should try for the literature for that. This is preparing for us the literature which is supporting us, because if that case goes to, we should have some documents in the hand of. Now, for example, in the case which we had, we got a literature from the company, and this I will just read it out for you. This one is that this was regarding Combac 5. Combac 5 is given after the expiry date, and there are no adverse events or AE5 seen in 24 hours of vaccination. The vaccine is considered as safe and harmless and for the recipient and does not need any further action. As well, when it says it doesn't causes the side effects, but may lose the potency, but still they have the data. If it goes beyond the expiry date, so it can be used without lose means the little bit potency may be loose of the vaccine, but not the it will be harmless or it can cause a side effect. And again, one more literature they supported. Suppose it is done, it has to be counseled and can be considered as invalid and can be repeated after 1 month. That there they have gone. The point is that we always should ask for the literature for the expiry vaccine. And one point is very clear, is that it doesn't causes side effects, but it does sometimes lose potency, but that also after a period of time. So that has to be concerned. And in this case, what happened? They did FIR. Now the question came, त्यांनी त्याला विचारलं डॉक्टरांना, हे तुम्ही सांगताय पण आम्हाला हे लिटरेचर पाहिजे. तर I said, Dr. You should not give the literature. You ask the patient to ask the literature from the company, respected company, because they have that sticker stuck. So they know the company. So they can just do the email, ask for the details, and if they will reply, and that reply will be given to them. Probably that is the way to go about, and we have to check for these things. Dr. Tiwari, sir, you want to add something?
Sir, one point here only.
Yes.
What is in case if they come and we give them the literature? Is there any issue in giving the copy to them?
See, in this case, where I did give, because it was addressed to the doctor. So then it becomes a biased document. When the letter is addressed to the doctor, and the patient can say it's a biased document because it is addressed to the doctor. So there may be something benefit interest of between the doctor and the company. So therefore, if you have frank literature without the name, without
the name, okay,
without
okay.
nothing, that can be given. And so what I said to this doctor, if he's, because he was very insisting, nahi hamara document pages. So what I said, you make the screenshot of that, cut your name, make that point only, and just post that screenshot. And
Okay.
when that screenshot went, so that problem got solved. So this is the practical things which we have to learn from them. I said, you don't send with the name, otherwise it will create problem for you. So just make the screenshot, cut that, and then send. Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Tiwari, sir.
Dr. Hemant, I slightly disagree with you, as Dr. Ram Gopal has said. There is no harm even if you give that letter or that document to the patient, because basically it is a scientific document prepared by the company. So whether it is in the name of doctor or the letter is in the name of the doctor, it doesn't matter much. And I will slightly disagree more, because why a doctor should do all these extra efforts in procuring the document. Let the patient produce the document that because of your expiry date injection, my child has some problem. So let us have the advantage of having that, as you rightly said, the negligence has to be proved by the patient. So why we should give our document, or why should we waste our time in getting that document? the leaflet which is available with the vaccine that can be given or shown to the patient. More important is convincing the patient or the relatives or the parent that nothing has happened. So the 4D which you have discussed, we'll discuss in detail in the subsequent question. So if there is no damage to the patient, then there is no need on our part to do much exercise in that case. As far as the basic issue is concerned, there are two issues with giving expiry date vaccine, whether it is oral or injectable, it doesn't matter. One, that vaccine might not be effective because it is expiry date. And the patient may say that my child will not get protected. So that is one issue for about 1 month when you have suggested the second dose after 1 month. So that is one issue. And second, the patient may say that my money has been wasted, especially if it is a costly vaccine. So while giving second dose, we have to keep that in mind. Second dose, either we have to give it free so that the patient does not have to pay twice for that. That is one thing, the problem which we have. And for 1 month, patient and the child may remain unprotected. So that we have to convince that in 1 month, if there is no other problem or if the child does not get the disease, so then there is no problem. There is no negligence as far as only injecting the expiry date vaccine. So I think this is a very common issue, as Dr. Hemant has already said. And now we see almost every 1 month or every month 1 or 2 phone calls from our colleagues that such and such thing has happened. So what we should do, and we usually say nothing has to be done. You just tell the parents, because this is a medication error. So we should accept that some error has occurred. So do not say that nothing wrong has happened. So you agree that something wrong has happened. But at the same time, do not be overcautious as far as our protection or defense is concerned.
Sir,
Yes,
my
yeah,
question is,
Dr. Ram Gopal, 1 minute. I agree with what sir said, but just sometimes what happens, if what this exercise was done was, doctor, why? Because we wanted to avoid all this stress and of course the other things, because the matter gets solved there only, and it got, otherwise I agree that to prove the negligence is the onus on the complainant, that is there, but to resolve the things we can do that sometimes.
sir, my question is,
Yes,
though we have now provided the literature, the person has gone to police, he has made a police complaint, we have given the literature also. Now the company has also given the literature ki there is no side effect. But still, if the matter goes to the court, what would be the next action or the result?
Yeah, what court will decide. See, the judges, they are usually.
I'm just asking the possibility of.
Yeah. What we say nowadays in most of such programs, that judges are usually in favor of the patient, or what we can say, the Consumer Protection Act is patient friendly act. Okay, so what will happen if we say there is no negligence? Ideally, judge should not give any compensation. But many times the patient can say that I had this problem and I had to worry for about 1 month or 2 months till the doctor said that there can be some reaction. So that's why I said usually we should be very firm that nothing is going to happen. So there is no need to worry because of the giving expiry dose vaccine. And only if some judge who is very much patient friendly, he can only give the judgment that, okay, the patient has mental stress and all these, he was the only child, so he was under stress, and for that you should give some compensation. But this can be defended in higher court. So I don't think any judge only should give some compensation only on the basis of physical stress or stress.
Okay.
and so now, Dr. Ram Gopal, to clarify this, see what options already I said. So this patient can go directly to police station, can file FIR.
Right, that is what, sir. What will happen once he files?
If that FIR is lodged, the steps are this way. If once FIR is lodged, patient, the police generally calls the doctor that this FIR has been lodged. So they start the method of investigation. So they take the statements and they usually they call कि doctor तुम्हाला FIR lodge झाले, तुम्हाला statement साठी यायचे. So they take the statements. So everything is get collected, and then that is supported to the submitted to the committee of the doctors. And suppose it is a district, that is a civil surgeon, and is a corporation, then is a some medical college. So then it is submitted, and then the process goes on. Ultimately, it takes a long process, and it directly cannot go to the court. So the first step is FIR. The second, he can go to consumer. So these are the two forums available for the patient to go. FIR, these steps occur. Consumer, if it gets admitted, there we get notice after to reply within 1 month, and it's a long process. The question was put up in the chat box. In the eventuality of this patient goes to consumer court, what are the chances that the doctor will lose the case? I think practically zero. The doctor will never lose this case, because if this all literature are there, it will never lose the case. As Dr. Tiwari sir said, because of some mental stress and little bit compensation can occur, but not to the very great extent.
And sir, then what should be the gap for the next dose? Usually the same, or if we are given a expired dose, so can we make it little early?
No, actually, immunogenically, whatever is stated is always after a gap of 4 weeks. That is one. Or you follow the literature, whatever the literature states. Yes.
Sir, if I may interrupt, we read it up for live
Yes.
vaccines. It is a 1 month gap. For inactivated, as soon as possible.
Yes, that is mentioned in their literature also. In live vaccine, 100% 1 month, in inactivated can be given, but I don't know. But it is that this is known as gray area.
The Gravita, I would like to add here that even if it is a live vaccine, but it is expiry date, and if we are giving vaccines like polio, like pulse polio, that even if you have received 3 days back your regular polio vaccination, then after 3 days, if there is a pulse polio, so you can repeat the dose of pulse polio. So I think if there are no major side effects, then you can give even after 2 days or 3 days, or when the patient has noticed that the expiry date vaccine has been given. Only if there is some problem of side effect, then only we should delay for 4 weeks. Or if you have the possibility of getting that disease very common, then we should go earlier also, depending upon that. Like if you have given expiry date penta or the tetanus containing, pertussis containing vaccine, and if there are local reaction, that means that vaccine is effective. So you can convince the patient or the parent that vaccine is effective. So there may not be need to give the extra dose also. So it will depend on which vaccine has been given accidentally of expired date.
Dr. Grivita, I will read one quote for you. Doses of expired vaccines that are administered inadvertently generally should not be counted as valid and should be repeated. Inactivated vaccines should generally be repeated as soon as possible. Live vaccines should be repeated after 20-day interval from the invalid dose to reduce the risk for interference from interferon on the subsequent doses. Recombinant zoster vaccine is neither live nor inactivated. The repeated dose can be given. The repeated dose of recombinant zoster vaccine should be administered 28 days after the invalid dose to reduce the burden of adverse reaction which occurs with this vaccine. And additional information, if you want, this is from the www.cdc.gov government vaccine website. So it is available on the website. So that details you can get.
So that will vary from vaccine to vaccine.
Yeah.
I think Gravita, you wanted to ask something? Yeah,
I
go ahead.
had a slightly similar incident. Means what had happened is I was speaking to the patient, and what the nurse did is I said ki oral polio dya. So instead of oral polio, she gave the flu vaccine orally. So in this case, the sister has done, but I haven't done anything. This thing. So first of all, is the doctor at fault? I mean, is it negligence on the part of the doctor in the first place? And secondly, how to go about? I mean, that we managed to speak to the parents and get it sorted. But then if he would go further to the police or something, how would we have handled this thing?
Hemant sir.
Sir, आप बोलिए अभी ये आप ले लो अभी. vicarious liability.
Dr. Gravita, this is the case of vicarious
That is
liability, which means if you have written any order as a qualified person, and the person who is going to follow your order, if that person is also qualified, then your responsibility ends once you have written the proper order. Now here, if the nurse is a qualified nurse, means he has some nursing degree, maybe ANM, GNM, whatever, BSc nursing, MSc nursing, then once you have written, your responsibility is over. It will be the responsibility of the nurse who has given the wrong medicine or the wrong vaccine. But if the nurse is not qualified, the responsibility will remain with the doctor who has prescribed.
So even if it is a
So-
hospital setup, I mean, the hospital is employed. It is not my, I'm just a consultant at that hospital.
If it is a hospital, then it will be the responsibility of the hospital who has
hospital, yes.
employed that nurse.
So one of the messages is very you are employed in the hospital, that is good. But many hospitals, they have untrained nurses. So the point is, bottom line is for that, if you are having untrained nurses or untrained staff, this whatever they are working or doing, it is the under supervision of yours. So you are totally responsible for that. And when as sir said already, the qualified nurse, it's okay. But then again, one question remains. सपोज ठीक आहे, हे हो गया सब, हे झालं सर्व काही, पण हे झाल्यानंतर काय डॅमेज झालं का? That is a question important. If there is no damages, nothing to worry about it. There is only that is my issue. Yes, sir. You were telling something.
Yeah, that 100% responsibility you cannot throw on the hospital also. So
Yes.
some responsibility will be yours also, that you are knowing that the nurse is not qualified.
Yes.
So more responsibility will be of the hospital. You can say 80% or 90%, but 10 to 20% responsibility will be on the prescribing pediatrician or the doctor also.
So when one of the case law, I don't remember. So some compensation was to be paid by that staff, then by the consultant and the hospital. So that bifurcation goes of the compensation.
Yes.
Sir, on the same, when we are talking about the vaccination, once we have given the there was one case which happened in Thane. The doctor has given a DPT and primary vaccination. After 12 hours, mother fed the child. Probably she slept on the child, or there was an aspiration and sudden death of the child. Now the doctor was held responsible for the death. Sudden, there is a flow of around 100 people. So how do we handle this situation?
Yes, Dr. Hemant.
See, whenever most of the things, whatever happening is attributed to the injection. It is a common thing to say from the side of the patient. But generally we know whatever the adverse effects are there by whatever the injection vaccine we give, it is generally within 30 minutes to 1 hour. After that, probability is very less of the adverse effect. But the situation, what happened in this case, that maybe aspiration, whatever, and it cause must have done, but they have attributed to the injection. So what they will do, they will just attribute to the injection. They may do go and do the complaint. But in this case, whatever is that, no one can prove whether it was due to DPT or the aspiration. So now the question is whether that patient comes with the dead baby to you, or they go to the complaint, or they go to the another hospital. The ideal answer will come from the PM only, and the PM has to be done in such cases. There is no answer for that. And तो अपने को काउंसलिंग के टाइम में कैसे बोलने का, डीपीटी मुळे शक्यता होत नाही, लिटरेचर वाचा तुम्ही, त्यात असं काही होत नाही, त्या कशामुळे झालं असेल तर हे मला सांगता येणार नाही, जेव्हा तो पोस्टमॉर्टम होणार नाही तोपर्यंत आपल्याला सांगता येणार नाही असं.
So in the same case, when I go to the second step, the baby was brought to the hospital.
Yes.
Now the politician comes in picture, people come in picture, they press the doctor that you give us the DC.
Yes.
Now, not allowed to talk, mobile is kept aside, and there is a lot of pressure. How to handle the pressure? Then I'll go on the next step.
Before I answer that, what I said, to say anything about that, I will request Dr. Tiwari sir to say what I said. उसके ऊपर कुछ आप बोल सकते हैं, ऐड करना है सर पहले?
नहीं, एकदम बराबर है डॉक्टर हेमंत, इट्स परफेक्ट. In this case, there are two issues. One, as Dr. Ram Gopal is repeatedly asking, one is to take care of the crowd or the violence. That is one. And I think that is totally unrelated to whether you have given vaccine injection or any other injection. So problem will be same. How to manage a crowd is a totally different problem. And most of the violence or crowd, as you rightly said, is by the politician. And I think the best way to manage a politically crowd or politically motivated crowd is another politician who can control it. So if it is from a BJP party or Congress party, you should have another person in the same party who will speak for you. That is the only option to manage the politically motivated crowd.
Yes.
And the second issue, which Dr. Hemant Gangulia is rightly said, that if patient still has the allegation that it is because of the injection, then it is for him to prove how the injection, how many deaths will occur, and whether this death was also due to injection or not, or whether it was aspiration. That can be found out by the postmortem only. So do not issue the death certificate. Whatever problem is there, you ask for the postmortem. And if the, as you said, कि भाई आपका phone भी ले लिया और सब आपको contact नहीं कर सकते, so you tell them clearly that I cannot issue the death certificate until police does the postmortem. So we can clearly tell the relatives that you go to police station, make an official complaint, and let the matter be investigated. So I will prefer that matter should be investigated rather than it is managed by the two politicians from the same party or opposite party.
Dr. Ram Gopal, the question what you asked is very tricky. इसमें काय याच्यात काय करायचं माहितीये का, मी स्पष्ट सांगतो. जेव्हा असे केस परत आले डेड बॉडीला घेऊन, तर वी शुड बी व्हेरी काम. आपण पॅनिक नाही व्हायला पाहिजे. प्रॉब्लेम काय, आपण पॅनिक खूप होतो. वी शुड बी शांत, लेट अ मॉब कम, आणि इट इज व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट टू हँडल, बट स्टील त्यांना शांतपणे बसवायचं. आपण बोलूया आणि लेट अस ट्राय टू सर तुम्हाला कसं वाटतं असं, म्हणजे देन वी हैव टू सॉर्ट अ प्रॉब्लम. आपको ऐसा लग रहा है इंजेक्शन से, तो पर ये इंजेक्शन से ऐसा हो नहीं सकता है. मगर आपको अब क्वेश्चन ऑफ डीसी, प्लीज डू नॉट, वी हैव नॉट टू इश्यू द डीसी. हाऊ टू एक्सप्लेन दॅट. जेव्हा मला कारण नसताना मी आता हे बाळ बघितलंय, हे बाळ इज ऑलरेडी डेड, तर आता मी कसं वरून तर सांगू शकतो हे डेथ कशामुळे झाले, तर त्याच्यावर मला ते डीसी देता येणार नाही. त्याच्यावर मला कारण लिहिता येणार नाही. मग त्याचा हल काय आहे. आणि आता तुम्हाला असंही वाटतंय की इंजेक्शनमुळे झालंय, तर आपल्याला असं करावं लागेल की आपल्याला ह्याची पोस्टमॉर्टम शिवाय आपल्याला ह्याचं काय माहिती पडणार नाही. देअरफॉर आय कॅनॉट इश्यू द डीसी. And regarding politician is the most commonest feature, but therefore I always say, and many places we should be little bit. काय असतं माहितीये का, वी आर व्हेरी इगोइस्टिक पर्सन. आपल्याला वाटतं की आपण डॉक्टर, तर वी आर ऑन द हायेस्ट लेवल. वी शुड ऑलवेज बी लिटिल बिट. आणि आपल्याला कधी कधी ह्यांच्या बरोबर रॅपोर्ट ठेवावं लागतं, भले ते कशी असू द्या. But because I have witnessed one of the incidents in Hakkari at Karzat, when the mob came and it almost was 150, we were there. And ते लोक डॅमेज करायला आले. I left my practice and OPD and just went there. But that जे आमचे जे आमदार आले, त्या आमदारने एवढं ब्युटिफुली हँडल केले, बिकॉज जस्ट वी हॅड द रिलेशन विथ आमदार, आणि हे पूर्ण मॉब सायलेंट झाला. ऑफकोर्स वी ऑलवेज शुड टेल, तुम्हाला यू आर हॅव्हिंग द ऑप्शन ऑफ डुईंग द कंप्लेंट, गोइंग टू द रिलेव्हंट फोरम, यू कॅन गो. तुम्हाला तक्रार करायची करा, पण हे तक्रार करण्याची अशी पद्धत आहे. दॅट इज द वे.
Sir, I come on the next step.
Yes, sir.
Somehow they contacted me,
Yes.
and I reached on the scene.
Yes.
I was the only person and the one doctor.
Yes.
Now a lot of people. Now that politician was pressing for the DC. I knew that he is not going to agree. So what I told, okay, first of all, there is the cause of death is not vaccine, but 0.1% I agree with you. So being a social person, isn't it your responsibility to find out what is the cause of death? If the vaccine is faulty, we need to prevent so many deaths, because it is from the same batch. Vaccine would be used everywhere. So he got convinced what I'm talking is essence. Now the real thing starts again. Police is not aware of the laws. So they are telling doctor तुम्ही आता PM ला पाठवून द्या. Our doctors also, they don't know how to order for a PM.
So the question is, you have to notify the police station first. You
Police
should always
was
call the
there.
police.
Police
I-
was there.
I-
Police
I-
is only saying
I will-
he
I will-
was not aware.
I will come to that. We have to inform the police first step. आणि ते politician ला कन्व्हिन्स करून पोलीस आल्यानंतर त्यांना वी हॅव टू स्पीक विथ द पोलीस की इन दिस केस वी कॅनॉट गिव्ह द डीसी आणि आता ह्याची डीसी नाही देत असणार तर पोस्टमॉर्टम करण्याची गरज आहे. आणि when पोस्टमॉर्टम करण्याची गरज आहे तर इट इज अ ड्युटी ऑफ पोलीस टू टेक दॅट पेशंट to the nearest government hospital or the nearest municipal corporation hospital to get that case there and just get it done whatever that hospital decides. So that is to get the PM done. And then that is the death declaration is one of the document which they give, but the postmortem is the thing which has to be done by the necessary institution to give the cause of death. And then it becomes the duty of the police. I will add one more step in that. The police काय म्हणतात तेव्हा जाऊ दे ना डॉक्टर हे लोकांना काढते तुम्हाला सही करून देतात त्यांना काय ऑब्जेक्शन नाही तुम्ही डीसी देऊन टाका ना. दॅट टाइम हाऊ टू अप्रोच इफ द रिलेटिव्ह बऱ्याच वेळा तुम्हाला बोलणार कधी कधी समजा दिस इज अदर वे रिलेटिव्ह बोलणार की नाही ना डीसी देऊन टाका तुम्ही आम्ही आमचं काय ऑब्जेक्शन नाहीये इफ द इट इज नॉट द अदर साइड तर देन यू शुड ऑलवेज आस्क ठीक आहे ते साइन करतायत पण पोलीस हॅज टू साइन दॅट डॉक्युमेंट फर्स्ट देन वी विल थिंक ऑफ डुईंग थिंग. असं म्हटल्यावरती पोलीस कधी साइन करणार नाही ते डॉक्युमेंट 100% नाही करणार साइन त्याच्यावरती अँड दे हॅव टू टेक टू द फॉर द PM. Yes sir, anything I had to add?
I just want to add one thing for my members, that it is the police duty to take the body for the postmortem, and before that they have to do panchrama in that setup where in that condition when the baby was brought to the hospital. And while handing over the body to the police, take their signature that you are handing over the body with the whatever the cloth, whatever the ornaments and everything, and take their signature and then hand over the body to them.
And badge number, their badge number, buckle number.
I think Dr. Ram Gopal, you have perfectly hit the nail. Our duty is just to inform the police and take the acknowledgement that you have informed the police. Now, if they want to say there is no need of postmortem, let them tell the relatives that there is no need for postmortem. And as rightly said, once you take their acknowledgement, they cannot refuse that there is no need for postmortem.
Sir, on the same line, I think only the ACP has power to order that the postmortem cannot be, not at a constable level or at sub-inspector level. They cannot decide whether the postmortem cannot be done or something.
Yeah, whosoever has power, let them decide. Our aim should be only to get that we have informed the police and you have the acknowledgement that you have informed the police.
Exactly, that is the point. Where constable घेऊन जातात आणि त्यांना डिसाइड करू दे काय करायचंय कुणाचं कन्सिडरला काय करते ते, but PM is the order OPD.
Sir, same in something. Suppose now we do get suddenly the baby is brought that to our OPD. Now most of us, it's a common mistake. They tell you take the child to the family practitioner. He will give you the certificate. But what should be actually done when somebody is brought dead in a setup?
In the vaccine case you are asking, or in general?
Any in OPD, I am sitting in the OPD, suddenly some person come with the child and he is brought dead.
Yeah.
Now
If
what
the-
should be my duty and what should be done? I should not send him ki tu ja aur GPC certificate le le.
Nahin.
That is what the commonly
You-
people do. So what
No,
should be the
that
exact?
you should not do. If the patient is known to you, you know which disease patient is suffering from and whether it is a life-threatening disease. And in any condition,
No, no,
if
sir,
you-
I'm not talking about a known patient under treatment, congenital diseases. There, I'm talking about a unknown patient.
no,
You don't know anything. Suddenly, walk to the
unknown patient, you should inform the police.
Dr. Ram Gopal, whenever the dead patient is brought in our pediatric age group, most of them are children. And one important line, dead patient cannot be referred after. ते तुम्ही तर certificate घ्यायला सांगतात. Many times they refer to the government hospital. Go to the government hospital.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
That was my
dead patient cannot be referred. First point number one. Two, then if it cannot be referred, but आपल्या pediatric age group में अपन जब declare भी करने का नहीं dead, immediately dead, because as you are telling unknown patient. The point is you pretend to examine the patient, and while in casual talk, try to find out the name, try to find out the address, the place from they have come. At least that much information you have, because once you say it is dead, most of the people they take away the child and run away. Then what you will do? Because you don't have any information regarding that patient. And then it's our duty. The such patient came to me and I found this dead, and you have to inform the police and just give the relevant information. Then it becomes the duty of the patient to police to do to follow the things. Now in this dead patient, when we cannot give the DC, never should give the DC. And what sir said, if it is a non-known patient and you are aware of the problems or the disease of that, the bottom line is there. Whenever you think of giving DC in such a situation, you should be able to justify your cause of death when summoned by the court of law, whenever that case goes in the court of law. So that one should keep in the mind. While giving DC, what cause you're writing, you should be able to justify when you go to the court or summoned by the court to give the statement regarding the certificate which you have given. That is the bottom line for that.
Now, since we are covering the OPD, now if some patient has come to me, like a normal, as a pediatrician, we don't write an antibiotic. We just see, we give an antibiotics and a simple symptomatic treatment. Patient goes home. In next 24 hours or 48 hours, the child worsens. But either they don't contact, or sometimes they have a habit of calling on the hospital landline and sister tells something to them. And after that, the child becomes serious. Suppose he develops pneumonia or whatever, he goes to an institutional treatment where the child expires. And then they always say, कि पहले वाले doctor ने देखा नहीं. So what should we, how do we handle the situation?
Yes, Hemant sir, बोलो आप जो बोलो.
नहीं,
पहला privilege आपका है.
No, Dr. Ram Gopal, the first because I have not put that slide in my presentation, the important slide is OPD paper. Please try to keep your name, qualifications should be there. No decorative qualification of I was registered at KM, I was there, I have done fellowship, nothing like that. Relevant qualification should be there, your full name should be there, and this contact number should be there. On the OPD paper, always, we should not do, we should make the habit of doing, because that is the only proof, that is the only evidence which will help in the future course of the action, whatever occurs. So what are the basic things? Date should come, positive or negative history of drugs, to side effect drug, this allergy, drug allergy history should be there. Then complaints of, may not be decorative, rough mein likho. Example, complaint of cough, cold, fever. On examination, general condition fair, vital stable, running nose, RS examination normal, या जो भी लिखना है, hearts based on whatever. And then one should write at least impression. Impression means what you feel regarding case, because whatever you write and whatever prescription follows, that shows your thought process at that time of point of time, because the differential diagnosis for that stage of illness may be varied. It may be different. So maybe day 2 fever, maybe may be viral, but that same fever may turn out on day 6 typhoid. We don't know. but the way you write, the process you write, that shows the reflection. It doesn't matter if you write medicine on day 2, not relevant to enteric, but it turns out to be enteric. But that time, whatever the thought process, it was written that way. And one more question, one more thing. If you write viral, then if you write viral and you write antibiotics, then there's अपने को खुद को आमंत्रण करना है. The viral URI लिखा और नीचे antibiotic follows. That is the most biggest mistake what you are doing. So
Sir,
write plain
same sequence.
URI and then whatever you want to write.
Sir, same sequence. Now the patient has got a fever of a 103, 104. Usually what we do is we keep them for observation for half an hour, put Zonac, control the temperature, and then you send off. Now on paper, you have documented that the child had a fever of a 103 and you label it as a viral. Now nobody can say. Now there is a point whether it was a viral, whether it is a bacterial, and the police immediately, the last hospital says the previous doctor should have detected this. There is a FIR, and now the police comes to your doorstep. How do I explain and how do I handle the situation?
So
Yeah.
yes, sir, go ahead.
What I would like to say, whatever happens to a patient, if it is justifiable, then the negligence will not be taken. But if it is not justifiable, then it will amount to negligence. So whatever complication has occurred, if it is a known complication, then there is no problem. We can defend it. Like I will give simple example. What we are discussing, it is a URI, we are saying. Now URI, even if it is viral or bacterial, it can progress to meningitis or encephalitis. Now, if you have seen the patient today and in the night, as you said, the nurse says that doctor is not available and you go to some other place or he goes to some other place and then he is turning out to be encephalitis there, I don't think there is any negligence on your part. You have not seen that patient. You can give 100 excuses for not seeing the patient that can be acceptable to the court or to the police. But if you have taken proper care and if you have given treatment as per the standard practice, as was discussed by Dr. Hemant Gangulia in his slide, that you have to follow the standard practice which is accepted by the association or by the academy of that specialist, then there is no negligence. So only why you have not prescribed the antibiotics will not be a case of negligence, or why you have prescribed antibiotics will not be a case of negligence. That in a viral fever you have given an antibiotic like amoxicillin. So what amoxicillin is going, it is not going to cause encephalitis and the patient will die of that. So that has to be defended. Giving antibiotic or not giving antibiotic and patient deteriorating only will not result into negligence. So it has to be proved cause and causa causans, what we say that whatever you have done, if it has directly resulted, the 4D which Dr. Hemant has discussed, the deficiency results directly into damage, then only there will be the negligence. And another thing which I would like to highlight here, the patient can have any allegation. Even if you have done correct treatment, then also you can have the allegation of negligence. If you have not done treatment, then also you can have the allegation of negligence. Whether you have examined or not examined, you can have allegation of negligence. So patient has every right to make any allegation. Like another example I will give here is of the politician that Rahul Gandhi says BJP people are chore, BJP people say that the Congress people are chore. So making allegation is your birthright in a democratic country. Only thing is sometimes if somebody feels hurt, then he can go for defamation against you. Otherwise, there is no other action for making an allegation, even if they are wild allegations.
Sir, my point is that whenever there is a fever of 103, 4, if one is controlling, why not to write on OPD paper, follow or contact me immediately if you notice following signs?
That you have to write. That you have to write.
Dr.
Yeah.
Dr. Ram Gopal,
We
I
have
got
never
it.
said that you don't write
Yes.
follow-up. You have to write the follow-up.
Yes.
You have to write admission.
Danger signs, you contact immediately with these danger
Yes,
signs.
definitely. You can write also that we have advised admission and the relatives have refused. That is the best way.
Dr. Ram Gopal, what is
Yes, sir.
stated
Yes, sir.
What is stated now? 103, 104 fever, but if your findings suggest of the typical features of viral, or that, then that can justify the giving without the antibiotics. Okay, one question. Secondly, you should always mention the red flag signs. Report if this thing happen. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly,
And-
sir. 90% of our colleagues, they don't write a red sign. That is what
हाँ,
the
नहीं, वो
point I
लिखना
wanted
चाहिए,
to
वो
stress.
तो लिखना चाहिए ना. And
Yes,
लिखना तो चाहिए पर वर्बली बोलना भी चाहिए. नहीं तो बहुत जन क्या करते हैं, खाली लिखते हैं पर बोलते नहीं है. But that can be defended.
So just one thing in this, is it okay if we write danger signs explained without mentioning?
No.
What
You
are
have to-
danger signs? You
Yes.
have to write.
Yes. You should write. Red flag signs explained, danger sign explained ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. अभी हाई फीवर है तो क्या क्या हो सकता है? बाल ड्राउजी हो गया, बाल अनकॉन्शियस हुआ, या बाल
Convulsion आया.
हाँ,
No,
आकडी आली. असं 2-3 गोष्टी लिहायच्या पटकन.
Best way is you write admit the patient if he does not improve or if he
Yes.
deteriorates.
That is the. आणि हे रेड फ्लॅग साईड लिहिताना ना मला मीन्स ऍटलीस्ट आय डू मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम आई राइट इन मराठी ओनली और हिंदी वॉट एवर द पेशेंट इज देयर. ये अगर हुआ ना आपको. यस
Dr. Hemant,
यस यस.
I do not know whether you have noticed, but Dr. Satish Sharma, Dr. V.K. Goel and Dr. Sam Sidana are there from the national level.
वेलकम.
Sir, we
Welcome, sir.
welcome to the Thane Academy of Pediatrics.
Yeah, we will have to welcome them as well as
Ask question
they
them.
can- No,
Ask question them.
not ask question them, but at least we should talk more in Hindi or
I
English.
think, sir,
Yeah.
since you have joined, we should be benefited with your presence.
Yeah, you can ask question. We don't have any objection to that as a faculty. But I
Also-
think
also-
we will have to talk more in Hindi and English.
Yes.
And also we welcome Dr. Manish Mehta from Gujarat. He is, I think, so secretary of AOP.
Mhm. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Actually,
Sir,
I just,
I think I would request Dr. Amol to welcome. He is our my secretary, so he can welcome them.
no, actually, what happened, sir? I was just seeing WhatsApp message, and in IAP based on OB group, I saw this link. So I saw the name of Dr. Tiwari sir and Gangolia sir, so I immediately joined. So
Yeah.
it was a really excellent session.
Sir, just one announcement. We will be having this series of the lecture every Thursday, last Thursday of the every month in a different segments.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Dr. Manish, Dr. Shyam Sidana, sir, then
Satish Sharma sir.
Dr. Satish Sharma, sir, then
And
Dr. V.K. Goel,
Dr.
sir.
V.K. Goel.
Actually, I put the message because
Dr.
of
Dr.
interesting topic.
Dr. Amol V.K. Goel is the president of the National Medical Legal Chapter of IAP.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Because of this interesting topic, at around 8:50, 9 o'clock, I put this message on state CIP state state office bearer group and also 2019 OB group. So they might have got the link, and the
Yes,
topic is very
yes.
interesting.
So
We are
good
learning
Dr.
a lot.
Ram Gopal, proceed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dr.
sir. My next question, which everyone asks: do we need to take consent before vaccination, or in writing, or is there any ready-made format for every vaccine? Do we need to take the consent?
One line is there, one line answer is there. Any invasive procedure requires a consent. Any invasive procedure.
No, but do you think
And-
giving
yes.
intramuscular injection is an invasive procedure?
Yes, it is an invasive procedure. It always requires. In the West, they take the consent for giving intramuscular, all injections also. Even for blood test, they take. But in our, ठीक है, आप अपना इधर अब तक ऐसा कुछ चल नहीं रहा है. For vaccination, we should always take. will share. That is, the consent form is there, which is published in our medical legal textbook of medical legal issues by Dr. Satish Tiwari sir and Dr. Manish Mehta sir. So one consent should be there for, but each and every time ideally should be taken. The how the way go about is that if you write on the case paper, such vaccines will be given and just take the signature on that. But I don't know whether I want to come there where to announce on these dice or not. But I am thinking of planning to come with the vaccination come consent booklet by the end of my presidency year. Let's see how it works out.
Yes, sir. Good.
Dr. Ram Gopal, in short, I will just ask in the opposite way. What is the harm if you take the consent?
Sir, that is what I was coming on because most of our pediatricians, I
Yes.
don't know, out of the fear, they are just not ready to follow the few guidelines. They might think the patient ko bura lagega, patient sign karega ki nahi karega, or the patient will refuse the vaccination. So they might lose that revenue. That is the reason.
So I will again go one step ahead as you are going. How many of we do not lose our patient? Or out of 100, routinely, how many of us lose our patient? So 100 में से कितने patient आपके पास वापस आते हैं?
Nobody is permanent, sir.
Even if you are absent for 1 month, you have gone for some family function or gone for the summer vacation or Diwali vacation, do not lose the patient?
Yes, sir.
Many of patients do not get response in 6 hours or 12 hours and they go for doctor shopping.
Sir, on your point, I got a legal notice for vaccination
Yes.
from an advocate. Now, the question is that when the patient came, I had explained him what is wholesale, what is pertussis, everything was explained to the patient. And
Yes.
like a shopping, I only gave him the choice, what you want to take.
Yes.
So he decided to take a cellular, they decided to take the Prevenar, they
Yes.
decided to take the Rotrix, all the best vaccines.
Yes.
They paid, they took the receipt.
Yes.
And after 48 hours, I got a call saying that I have taken more money when the same vaccines are available in just 2,000 rupees. So I said, I have explained you everything and the choice was given to you.
Yes.
But they were not convinced and I got a legal notice saying that why we have, I have recommended them. And I had taken their signature also on the papers as Gongalia sir, I am giving this, taken the signature. Why these high cost vaccines were administered, why not the low cost vaccines?
No,
Yeah.
but the explanation was documented or not. These are the vaccines, and this is costing that much. This is costing that much.
Not
Why
every
so
cost.
much?
No, not that was not documented. Only
so
what I
that-
am giving, that is why
So-
I am trying to ask.
so-
Do we
so-
need to
so-
write an essay saying that I have explained you the whole
Dr.
thing, I have
Ramgopal,
explained.
Dr. Ramgopal, what I do, I will take the practical things. Suppose, see, the vaccine existing, I will take the brand names, कुछ problem नहीं है. Nemosil 2000, Prevenar 3800. So I make just this. इसका इतना cost, इसका इतना cost, इसका इतना cost. आपको कैसा कौन सा लेना आप बता सकते हैं. And if they give the choice, then इसका फायदा क्या, इसका फायदा क्या? तो मेरे को लगा आपका budget best रहेगा, तो give the best on what you want to give. That is only the way out.
Dr.
No, so
Ram-
that means for every vaccine we have to
Yes,
comment
yes,
in the,
yes.
on paper in writing. These are the price. You decide.
Dr. Ram Gopal, I
Yes,
would
sir.
like to say 2 things here. One, whatever you charge, nobody can, you can say, challenge it at
Challenge,
any place. You have to have the charges. Only thing is, I do not know what are the government guidelines, but most of the hospitals now, they are putting up the charges of the vaccines, charges of injection, charges of bed charges per day, nursing charges per day. So if you have written this in your OPD or if you have written in your indoor, then there is no question somebody can challenge those charges. That is one. Second, if you have taken consent, then to some extent, even if you are not explained what Dr. Gangulia is saying, that all the things, But if you have written that there are some costly vaccines and you have informed the patient about those costly vaccines, and he is taking these things, we have included in the consent format, which is there in the textbook, which
Right,
Dr.
sir.
Hemant is saying. So you take the consent that I have been informed about the costly vaccines, their efficacy. So not to specify each and every vaccine, but you tell them that there are some, you have informed about the charges, and after explaining everything, the patient, you have given the vaccine. So I think that should solve the problem.
Okay.
See, Dr. Ram Gopal, we should be on uniform. Therefore, is a fraternity. And what is said now, loose comments is the most commonest reason for the litigation. And if you all on uniform platform, so nothing happens. We have to explain the things and write that way. But problem क्या है? आपने को time नहीं है. जल्दी करना है, जल्दी अपने review लेना है. Okay.
Right, sir. Before I think I am only asking if from other colleagues, if somebody has got a question, can ask. Otherwise, I'll take over again.
First, you take the question which are in the chat box. I think so.
Most of them I have taken, sir.
Yes. Okay. No problem.
Consent for the vaccine I have already taken. Vernacular language.
My personal suggestion is there is no harm in taking the consent. If there is some benefit, only will be there. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to defend as a medical legal consultant. As Dr. Hemant is there, I am there, Dr. Satish Sharma and Dr. VK, everybody is there. We say that as a medical legal consultant, it will be easier for us to defend the case in court of law if you have taken a consent for vaccination. If you have not taken any consent, then it will be difficult for us to defend it.
Dr. Ram
Just
Gopal,
to add on.
can I just ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Please.
Hi, sir. This is not. Thank you for so much for all the detail on vaccination. I have never taken consents, though I write all the detailed charges. But anyway, this is regarding the online consultation, which is all we have been doing for the last few months, especially last 15-20 days with the Omicron tsunami. Do we need to preserve all the papers that we have been writing on the letterhead and then sending WhatsApp images? So do we need to preserve those papers very carefully and file them? And if and when the patient comes in the clinic physically, do we need to give those papers?
Madam, as far as the online consultation or the physical consultation is concerned, there is no different rules. The rules are same.
Okay.
Now, any document for as per the NMC or MCI guidelines is you have to preserve for 3 years from the date of admission. For OPD papers, there are no guidelines. But as a medical legal consultant, we say that you preserve even OPD papers for 3 years. So that is 3 years. That is what the present recommendation we are giving. Though you may get different recommendation from different medical legal consultants, especially dealing with the pediatrician, we do not want to discuss that on an open platform, because many of our colleagues are now saying that why you are telling open platform that the pediatrician should preserve the document for such a long time. So we are not now discussing that on the open platform. But,
No, but
3 years is as per the National Medical Commission or MCI guidelines. So 3 years from the date of admission. So that is for indoor. What we suggest, even for OPD paper, we should preserve for 3 years. Please remember any case paper, whether it is OPD or indoor, any case paper is the property of the hospital. It is not the property of the patient. But it is the right of the patient to get a copy of that document if he wants it.
sir, OPD papers in a private clinic that I have, I do not preserve the OPD papers. I write on my letterhead and I give it in the file of the patient.
That is what we are discussing. Ideally, you should have a copy of that. Ideally, I am saying. Practically, many of us are not doing, including myself. I am not preserving OPD paper of my patient, though I am seeing a daily OPD patient.
So just to add on, nowadays these apps are available.
One minute, madam, to complete that, madam, for a question.
Yes.
Officially, MCI guidelines, what sir said, 3 years. But
Right.
that is the
That is for
reason,
indoor.
because we are not keeping the OPD papers. That is the reason we should document the OPD paper properly. Why? Because the OPD paper is the only paper by which the patient can go to any forum. So if your paper is right, then need not worry of that, whether you have kept the paper or not. And one more point, after 3 years, please, when you want to destroy the papers, whatever you're preserving, you make the notice in the newspaper, local newspaper, 2 languages, that anyone wants any documents can apply. Otherwise, we are destroying these papers, which cannot be obtained from. And one more point, if the patient demands the paper, they have to give in an application, and we have 72 hours to give that paper. That is one more thing one should
Copy
remember.
of that paper.
Sir, we are talking about OPD. I am not talking indoor. For OPD also, we will have to do all these procedures.
No, for OPD, no.
I mean,
OPD, anyway, you are giving the copy to them. Sir is asking to keep one copy with you of OPD paper.
Yeah, that I
In
did.
this-
3 years.
And one more point I want to add. If you think, means this is mostly for indoors, if you think this may go to litigation or may any mishap have happened, this paper should be kept lifelong.
Barabar.
Sir, in continuation, I think Dr. Patil has asked one question. Is it not an implied consent for vaccination? And whenever the patient is brought for vaccination, as we write on OPD papers. Comment, sir, please.
Implied consent has not much value in the legal system. So it has to be now informed consent, and implied consent does not have much value.
Okay. Gravita, you want to ask, or should I go for next question?
Nowadays, apps are available. I mean, how safe it is to use in indoor practice, I mean, in the OPD practice, basically. And anyone,
Madam, any document, any app, whatever is there is no harm in using it. Only thing is you should be preserving the records properly. So there is no harm in using any app. It is a technological advance. So what is the harm?
Next question is, sir, about the drug reactions in OPD patients. Acute drug reactions
So drug reactions in the most commonest which is seen is anaphylaxis.
Right.
So mostly all should be, as a pediatrician, will all work with the management of anaphylaxis reaction. So the point is, if any anaphylaxis occurs, whether it was treated as per the suggested protocol, suggested guidelines. What does that mean? Whether you are given injection adrenaline, whether you are given oxygen, and everything comes in the sequence of the management of the anaphylaxis, that I need not stress upon. So the one more again, so each and every clinic or each and every office setup should have emergency set of medicine to handle the anaphylaxis. So one more point again, we have to have oxygen cylinder as well as laryngoscope, ambu bag in our office practice also. If something happens, because what is the logic behind that? Suppose anaphylactic reaction occurred and something complication occurred, death occurred, and if the police comes, if Panchanama is there, it should be shown that you have attempted all the method of resuscitation. If you are not having oxygen, if you are not laryngoscope in your office practice, then how do you document? How do you say that you have carried all the resuscitative measures which was recommended? Because drug reaction is a known complication. Handling of the complication should be as per the standard protocol, standard measures. And if that done, when it is a known complication, there is no gross negligence. But at the same time, if you have not handled according to the standard procedure, research measures, means giving oxygen, giving adrenaline, giving all these things, if it's not been done, then that becomes gross negligence. So that is the way to each and every office should keep all the emergency medicines.
Okay.
And one more, adrenaline has very short expiry. So please keep अपन pediatrician के पास में तो हमेशा रहता है, पर adrenaline तो बहुत short expiry था, तो उधर वापस से
So keep checking your expiries of your emergency drugs.
Dr. Ram Gopal, the more important than adrenal anaphylaxis is the Steven Johnson syndrome, which can occur with many
Sir, I
drugs.
was coming to that. I said all that, including anaphylaxis and other drug reactions.
Yes. So more common is Steven Johnson syndrome, and only option to defend a case of Steven-Johnson syndrome or drug reaction is you take the history of drug allergy. So all those delegates who are attending, or all those person who are attending today's this webinar, my suggestion is that if you are not writing history of drug allergy, the first thing we should start doing from today is on every OPD paper, you write before prescription of any medicine, whether it is a simple paracetamol or a multivitamin, you write whether there is a history of drug allergy or not.
Okay.
So every
Thank you, sir.
patient asks the history, whether there is any drug reaction in the past, and note it down that no history of drug allergy, or if there is a history of drug allergy, then you have to explain the patient that this drug. I will give you a very good example. One of my patient, he has a reaction to ciproflox. So I have explained him everything. I have written on his case paper that he is sensitive to ciproflox. Now what happened? That paper on which I had written, that has been with the multiple papers, it is somewhere hiding in between those. So when once I was writing ciproflox, that patient told me that that you told in the past that I am sensitive to ciproflox, then why you are writing ciproflox? So if the patient knows, then he can also point it out while writing the drug, and that will prevent many complications. And even in the legal system, if you have taken history of drug allergy and there is no history and you have prescribed the medicine, if there is Steven-Johnson syndrome, it will not be taken as a negligence. But if you have not taken that history, not mentioned it on the case paper, and there is Steven-Johnson syndrome or any other skin reaction, then it will be taken as a negligence. And as we discussed just few hours back, if there is a complication, that has to be referred. So if for any reason, if there is a Steven-Johnson syndrome, do not hesitate in referring that patient to a dermatologist. So take the opinion of dermatologist also.
Sir, one more question regarding that consent. There are two questions. One is the government centers are exempted from the consent?
No.
So,
No.
but nobody is taking a consent. Second thing, Dr. Patil sir has asked, is there any landmark judgment on the consent of vaccine?
There is no landmark judgment on the consent of the vaccine, but unfortunately, Dr. Ramakant, I think I may be sounding slightly harsh, but as Dr. Hemant has already said, that in the textbook, we have included a consent form. In the CDC, there is that consent should be taken. In the international the recommendation, there are that consent should be taken. So all this will go against our colleague if they are not taking consent. Any advocate who is fighting on the from the patient side or from the parent side, he will say that if the textbook says that you should take the consent, and then why you are not taken, so that point will go against you. Against you means against the person who has not taken. So as we have, we are now discussing the time for which pediatricians should maintain the document, but I think we cannot say this because the informed consent is now must as per the legal guidelines.
Sir, मिळाला answer? Patil sir.
नाही म्हणजे सर आता on one side we say that whatever is being written in our country should be
Yes.
considered as a basis rather than what CDC says or what international books say.
Yes.
Whatever sir is saying that it is there in the textbook. So is it a part of our undergraduate or medical jurisprudence part? Because
Yes.
on one side we are taxing the practitioners by recommending
काय सगळं
every now
बाहेर
and then consent for all the things.
Dr.
I
Ramakant
understand fully
Patil,
agree
that
with
is
the
what I am,
position that
Dr.
it has to
Ramakant
be
Patil
always written
sir.
as a blanket that there is vaccination of this thing as a drug, history of drug rash has to be taken. But for vaccination, I think it is a bone of contention because it cannot be implied consent as for every patient for examination, we cannot take consent. It is an implied consent. Similarly, when we write on the OPD paper, patient has been brought for vaccination, and we are writing at the most that otherwise every time for how many things we are going to take consent.
But sir,
This is part
Gangulia
of
sir
our-
pointed out, whenever you are giving an injection, it becomes a procedure, and once you are doing an invasive procedure, you need to take a consent. For examination, it's not an invasive procedure. You are just examining the patient. You are not
See-
giving doing any.
See, the answer will be, जब तक कुछ होता नहीं ना तो सब चलते रहता है अच्छे से, पर जब ये केस में जाएगा ना, ideally consent has to be taken because it is an invasive procedure. That is the bottom line.
My question is, what is basis for this thing? What you say?
Because I will tell you, I will tell the basis. See, vaccination is an invasive procedure. Vaccine has its own side effects. When it is an invasive procedure, complications likely to occur. That explanation of complication is mandatory on our part to explain them. And when they were doing invasive procedure, yes, Halan means after giving this, such thing happens. So complications occurs that we have to explain, and whether you are ready to accept that. So that therefore that is the basis for consent to be taken.
So is it because of the textbook somebody has written from medical part, we are asking for the consent? There is no specific landmark judgment or any specific guidance from the judiciary.
Dr. Ramakant, sir, everything cannot be there in the case laws or in the judiciary book or even in the medical legal book. There are something which are interpreted by the judiciary and by the judges. I think we have discussed in the beginning only.
Yes.
And
Dr. Ramakant sir, you have missed the previous 2 slides, which are
No,
very
no,
important.
I am attending from very beginning.
Acha, okay.
My
Okay.
question is, or rather than, I am not having any accusation or like that.
Dr. Ramakant, Dr. Ramakant, I am coming to that only. I have understood your question. Do you know that 1.8 crore for the ROP was given only on the ground that the patient or the relatives were not informed that the child can develop ROP, and it was not investigated, or the ROP screening was not done before the discharge of the patient?
No, mixing of the things, ROP and this are different, and the compensation was given for not informing the ROP complication. It is not for screening for the ROP.
Yes.
It was an act of
So-
omission. It
so
was an act
the-
of omission. We are mixing
Yes.
two things. We are mixing two things.
Okay, so if you are admitting a newborn and if the patient is there who is a 1 kg, do you know that you have to inform daily that what is the condition of the patient and how he is going to progress?
Yeah, we are writing it on the daily notes that
Yes.
patient relatives have been counseled. We do not
Yes.
write everything. But
So if you are
relatives have been-
counseling for daily admission or the daily progress and for the examination and the investigation, should you not counsel the patient for the complications related to the immunization?
No, the complication, what I mean to say, you are not, gist of my question, you are not getting, sir. Gist of my question is,
Yes.
if we the medical fraternity is recommending it, we
Yes.
should refrain it unless until there is a definite case law. We are unnecessarily providing a documentary evidence that every pediatrician or vaccinating person should take a consent. If there is no legal documentation for that, why we should go ahead proactively and say like that?
It is to prevent the medical legal cases in future. If you want to remain in a denial mode that I will not take the consent because the government nursing staff is not taking consent before giving the vaccine, then I will also not take it. We want to remain in a denial mode, no problem. But if you want to have the proactive, let us, that is what the question I have asked Dr. Ram Gopal sir.
Yes.
What is the harm in taking the consent? My question was just the opposite. Why we want to have in a denial mode, and what is the harm if we take the consent? I
Because
think this we have
on
discussed.
one side, we want to make everything paperless. We want to make everything as environmental friendly. And other
Mhm.
side, we are going adding papers and papers and papers and papers. For
Dr.
any
Ramakant
PhD,
Patil, again, you are diverting from the basic. We
I-
want to
I
make
agree.
everything paperless. Even the judiciary wants everything to the paperless. But if you are going to a court, or even if the central IP is asking for FIP, they want 6 copies. Why they want 6 copies? Why not 1 copy?
Sir, in short, it is a protection. If something untoward incidents goes against you, if you have a consent, you can show them. Like what I had one legal notice. I asked sir, if I would have taken his consent signature that I am giving this brand with your consent, probably I would not have received that notice. But I had mentioned on OPD paper, but I had not taken a consent. Maybe that is the reason nowadays everyone is going for small things to the court. And if you have a consent, at least you have a one tool to protect yourself.
And
That is
the point Dr. Ramakant wanted to put was this. I know what he wants to put. He wants to put this when there is no legal judgments, no case laws, nothing has been written. So why are putting our foot into that and
exactly.
making the things like that? So
Sir, but I asked the same question to sir. Sir Cross
but-
asked me the question.
but-
What is the harm if you
what he wanted? No, I will come to one more point. So what he wanted to, why you are dragging the foot in that when there is nothing happening? So let us everybody do the same thing, not taking the consent going in. But क्या होता है? When who suffers, who gets the notice, who gets to that, because even I have gone through this all. I have gone through consumer forum. I have gone through judicial first class magistrate, gone to session court, gone to High Court Mumbai for almost 13 years. The judgment came in my favor, but after 13 years. So something is there that we have to follow for our protection. So that is up to one's own choice whether to do or not. But this defense, what Ramakant Patil is saying, this defense will not work in court of law. That I'm very much sure. Your defense, your whatever your DS said now, that defense will never work in court of law. That I'm very much sure. But what you're saying, that's okay on our this diet. But when some the case gets lodged against vaccination to you and court of law, you tell this 100% will not be accepted.
Exactly, that is what I told sir. It is a tool for your own protection. That's all.
Yes.
Can Hemant sir, can you share the exact wording of the consent? If it is short, can we make a stamp and put it up?
I think
it was in my slides,
we'll share the form.
I joined
Sir
late.
can send to me.
I will share my one PDF file which have all these things. You just can enjoy that PDF file. No problem.
I think it's a time to wind up. It's a never ending story, but we will be having a series of it. So balance, you can write down the questions for next session.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I once again thank you Satish sir, thank you Gangolia sir, and thank you Central IIP faculties. Over to Gangolia sir.
Thanks everyone.
We can invite the dignitaries who have joined from so long.
At least I would like
Dr.
to listen,
Satish Sharma, Dr.
minute
VK
from-
Goel, any comments or any suggestions, any recommendations, we will just welcome from them. Dr. Satish Sharma is there. Dr. VK Goel is there. Sir, your
And Mehta
thoughts,
sir is
your
there.
comments. Dr. Ram Gopal, you can request them.
Dr. Satish sir, he is connected.
Dr. Satish Sharma, आपके 2 line, whatever you want to say.
Sir, this is, I have been listening, and all these problems we face in day-to-day practice. And we have very senior stalwart and Dr. Tiwari and Dr. Gangolia, they are my mentors. I have learned a lot. For last 10 years, I am in medical legal chapter. And we are facing these problems, and they have been answered very well by Dr. Hemant, Dr. Ram Gopal, and Dr. Satish Tiwari and all others. And legally, we should take consent in nomination, but we are not taking in routine. Unless until there is some court judgment or some award against a doctor, then we'll start taking it. No doubt this is,
Okay.
yeah, no doubt this is implied. When somebody come for to a lady doctor for a internal checkup, this is implied consent. When
Okay,
come for
आपका
blood
बोलना
transfusion,
ये
okay,
जब
implied
तक
consent.
पानी में गिरेंगे नहीं तैरना नहीं सीखते, ऐसे ही बोल रहे हैं ना
Right,
आप?
right.
One
Right,
line
sir.
answer. Okay.
Very right.
Dr.
So I think all these
Shamsiddhan,
are important practical issue. And I faced one case. It was a grandson of an income tax commissioner. I advised him to give this pneumococcal vaccine. They say a grandmother said, okay, there's no need, we have not given to our child. Right? When the child was 6 months old, he got meningitis. First, he refused for lumbar puncture. They say, oh, no need. The next day it was done and it was found to be pneumococcal meningitis. And they filed a case against me. And luckily, I have written in front of the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine that the attendant refused. So documentation is very, very important. So this saved me that he has refused for pneumococcal because vaccination, because it was costly, 3,800 one shot. So that is the importance of the documentation. So
Sir,
each
video
and
चालू करो
everything
ना.
we should document. Like in OPD paper that Hemant was telling, and one doctor was saved. There are a lot of cases in Delhi Medical Council. They say if you are writing 4 things, one is the pulse rate, then is SpO2, then respiratory rate, patient condition. That will save you from this. 50% of your job is done. Respiratory rate, pulse rate, SpO2, and the condition you write. 4 things. So we should mention a brief one, just fever 2 days, cough 2 days. One child came to me, 10-month-old, vomiting for 4 days. He was lethargic. I gave treatment, sodium was 120. I corrected the sodium, he still continued to have a vomiting. On the 3rd day, I asked, okay, we should do a lumbar puncture. Although there was no meningeal sign, and I said, let me go for this CT scan also, or MRI, because the child is only 1 year age. So in MRI, he went to other hospital, and the child was diagnosed as a case of hydrocephalus. And they complained against me that the Dr. Sharma did not advise MRI, CT scan, or lumbar puncture on the very first day. But the sequence of events were that his sodium was 120, he was having vomiting, he was having fever, he was lethargic. All these were explained on the basis of dyslactile low sodium. So I was not at my fault, as Dr. Tiwari has said. So sequence of event, the child, I told nobody can diagnose hydrocephalus without MRI. The head circumference was normal. So I told them, I will stop doing practice if somebody, clinician will tell hydrocephalus from just seeing his skull. So these are, small things. You mentioned no meningeal sign, child is dehydrated, this, that. So you are saved. So there is the importance of your clinical. Just a few lines on OPD paper will save you. This is my observation. Thank you very much.
Shyam sir wants to say something.
Thank you, Ram Gopal sir, Gangulia sir, and my mentors.
Sir, some network issue, I think.
Dr. Goel, if he wants to say.
Yes, sir, I want to say the very nice discussion is going on. And we have learned lot of things today also. The important things we, as Dr. Tiwari sir always say, we have to take the consent for a vaccination. We have to take. And we pediatricians are so lax and we don't understand. And we keep on vaccinating the child without consent. किसी दिन कोई फंस गया तो दिक्कत हो जाएगी. But we should take the consent for vaccination. And in my opinion, every time when you inject after a month, every time, जैसे हम ब्लड के लिए कहते हैं, एक ब्लड लगाया तो कंसेंट है, दूसरा लगाया तो कंसेंट है, तीसरा लगाया तो कंसेंट है. Every time consent has to be taken.
Right.
Every other thing, I am the NABH assessor also. I see the prescription of people, lot of people, of physicians, of surgeons, of pediatricians. Prescription देखता हूँ, उसके अंदर एक कॉलम है prescription. Prescription देखो, बस दवाइयां लिखी हैं 4, 5, 6, 7, जो भी लिखना चाहते हैं आप. There is nothing else other than the medicines. Don't do that. Proper chief complaint लिखिए, जो complaint से patient आया है. Examination लिखिए, जो आपने examine करा है. Proper vital लिखिए, उसके जो vital हैं उस time पे. And then write the prescription along with some investigation if you want to do. Always, always, always write proper prescription with chief complaint and write the name and sign. Sign and name. चाहे आपका नाम ऊपर छपा है तो अच्छा है. जैसे मैं हॉस्पिटल प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ, मेरा नाम प्रिस्क्रिप्शन पे ऊपर छपा हुआ है हॉस्पिटल के साथ. इट्स फाइन. बहुत से लोग हॉस्पिटल में प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, हॉस्पिटल पैड होता है, डॉक्टर का नाम कहीं नहीं होता, लेकिन डॉक्टर का नाम होना चाहिए. उस आप क्लिनिक प्रैक्टिस करते हैं तो आपका पैड अपना पर्सनल है, दैट्स फाइन. लेकिन आप हॉस्पिटल में प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं तो हॉस्पिटल का पैड होता है, उसमें आपका नाम होना चाहिए कि आपने देखा है. They are the basic thing of the prescription. Everyone has to follow. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. बीच में आपका नेटवर्क चला गया था.
अच्छा ये बताइए, ऐसा बोला जाता है कि those who are not charging their fee, like a person working in a certain hospital, they are not cannot be booked under medical legal this thing.
No.
Huh?
No.
Because they are not directly charging their fees. Only the hospital can be booked because they are not directly charging the fee.
वो लाइबल है, बिल्कुल लाइबल है.
नहीं डायरेक्टली लाइबल नहीं, हॉस्पिटल जो क्या वो काम करे वो लाइबल है. हॉस्पिटल लाइबल है, उनके एम्प्लॉय है वो. सिमिलरली बिकॉज अगर वैक्सीन में हम चार्ज अपना वैभव कर देते हैं, एमआरपी रेट पर लगा रहे हैं, will I be liable for this?
Yes.
वैक्सीन में अगर हम चार्ज नहीं लेते हैं, फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट, फ्री ऑफ आवर माई चार्ज लगा रहा हूँ मैं, एमआरपी उससे भी कम में लगा रहा हूँ.
Sir, I had asked a question. Even the government centers, they should take the consent where everything is free of charge. That is what I had asked, sir.
I'm not talking of consent. I'm talking of this thing that those who are not charging, that they cannot be come under this medical legal this thing.
No, they can come because
They
they are
can
charging
come.
a ration. Yes, 100%.
Certain hospitals, they are not charging. Government hospitals, they are not charging. The doctors, they are employee of that hospital.
We are having case laws against government institution itself because they are charging ration fees of whatever may be, 5 rupees, whatever.
But the doctor working under that hospital is not directly booked because he is the employee.
No, not that, because vicarious responsibility.
Okay, let us discuss in next year. But I have come to know some sources.
Yeah,
But let
I
us
think,
discuss
sir,
this in-
we can discuss the same thing on the next session. That would be more, again, a 1.5 hour session.
Yes.
So we can
Yes,
come back
thank you.
on. Yeah.
It was a nice discussion today. Thank you.
Ganguly,
Thank
sir,
you.
you can end up saying 1 or 2, whatever you want to comment, sir.
No. Excellent initiative taken by your branch, and let us hope this will go on. And you, as I learned from you, that you want to do on a bigger platform. All the best from my side. And as
Thank you, sir.
as a MAHA-IP president, probably we are having the VV meeting on 30th this Sunday.
Right.
And I will be giving free hand to everybody. If they are having some project they want to implement, design the project, come with the project, and just get the credit for that and perform for the betterment of general pediatrician, our fraternity, and we should connect with the people more what we are doing individual level.
Sir, next time this same session would be on a bigger platform, and we will have a link for all the pediatricians of Maharashtra, and even on the CIAP platform.
I don't think so. Any talk of today's was it was out of the records or off the records. I just this was very fantastic discussion. Dr. Amol is there. Otherwise, then you can wind up the things.
Yeah. Dr. Amol.
Amol sir is not there, sir.
Okay. So I think we wind up, and I thanks everyone.
We can invite anyone to say something, or otherwise we wind up.
Yeah, or anyone from the branch or the faculty, anyone wants to have a comment, please go ahead. Gravita, you want to say anything?
Excellent session. I mean, this is what we handle in our day-to-day lives. So, and so many things we didn't know actually. So it's going to make a big difference. Thank you so much.
Dr. Abhay Marathe, sir. Dr. Marathe, I think he is not there.
When numbers start decreasing, we should wind up.
Yeah, yes, sir. Now it's the right time.
Dr. Tiwari sir, you have left? Dr. Tiwari sir?
No, he is there online.
Tiwari sir is there, sir.
I am also there.
So we are waiting for your comment.
Very good session. And as you said, I think the next should also be on OPD only, because OPD may there are still
see, what is my plan is we will start from whatever we have left today. So we will continue with the OPD and then we'll go for the next.
Yes.
So next session would be on the 24th of February, sharp 9 o'clock.
Yeah. So OPD questions, I think we can mail you send you the questions.
I think I would request if you can send the questions in advance or whatever on the chat box, that would become a easier task for me.
Yes. So that the questions are not repeated, and also many questions can be handled in a proper way. Yes, good idea.
And I would request now CIAP faculty also to be present there, so at least they can help us in solving the problems. Specifically, Dr. Sharma, Dr. Vivek Goyal, sir, please do come on 24th February.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Gangulia, sir, we can wind up now.
Yes.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Dr. Tiwari sir, last comment कुछ करना है आपको? Dr. Tiwari sir, we are waiting for a comment.
Night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
नहीं हो गया सब पूरा अपन ने 1.5 घंटा अपन ने किया ना.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ram Gopal.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
पल्लवी मैडम मीटिंग एंड करता है?
हो सर, करती है. रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ करती है.
Yes.